Hello! So today, mag-umpisa ulit tayo ng panibagong module, no? So again, ito ay Flexible Training for Work Program at ang pag-aaralan natin ay Module 3.1. Ang core skill natin para sa Module 3 ay Critical Thinking Skills. How do we resolve problems? Okay, ang problema ay bahagi ng ating buhay. Again, ang problema ay bahagi ng ating buhay. Hindi talaga natin ito maiiwasan, mai-encounter at mai-encounter natin ito. Now, what are we doing here? We're not saying that we can resolve the problem, no? What we're giving you are tools so that you can resolve your own problem. Okay? So what we will start with identifying and understanding a problem. Okay? Now, tignan natin, mag-visioning muna tayo. If everything went well for you at work, what would your ideal workplace look like? What would your role be? Who would you working with or for? What would your work hours be like? What would you wear to work? How much would you be earning? How would you spend most of your work days? What is keeping you from being in this ideal work setup? No? In this new set of modules, we will learn critical thinking skills that will help you in problem solving. Problem solving will help you practice critical thinking skills before jumping into a solution. Importante na meron tayong critical thinking skills bago tayo mag-decide sa isang solusyon. Again, napakahalaga kasi na marunong tayong kumalma sa harap ng problema at marunong tayong fall apart ito, i-dissect ito para maunawaan natin, no? Para hindi tayo bibigay sa harap ng problema. All right? So, how do we solve problem, no? Let's look at topic number 1. What is problem solving or yung technique, no? Problems are part of every person's daily life, whether at home or at the workplace. All problems have two common features. The one is the goal. Meron kang nais gawin. And the other one is the barrier. There is something that is stopping you from doing what you want. Goal, barrier. So in every problem, there is something that you set out to achieve. That's your goal. This may be framed as an objective, a desired state, an output, or a milestone. Can you think of any goals a person might have in the workplace? Ano ba yung goal mo sa workplace mo? Sabi ng mga previous trainee, ang goal nila is 1, magtagal sa trabaho. Second, ma-promote, maging supervisor, maging manager. Yun yung kanilang goal. Ano yung mga barriers mo? In every problem, there are barriers or obstacles to achieving the goals. If there are no barriers, then there is no problem. So, ano-ano ba yung mga barriers? Magtagal sa trabaho yung goal, no? Ano yung mga barriers? 1, hindi ka competent sa trabaho mo. Second, lagi ka na-late sa trabaho mo. Kaya ka natatanggal. Right? Gusto mo maging supervisor. Barrier? Hindi ka pinagkakatiwalaan na i-promote kasi hindi ka graduate ng college, no? So, that's a barrier, no? Wala kang skills na kailangan in order to be a supervisor. That's a barrier. Alright? Problem solving is a process every person and team goes through to exert some control over the environment. So what we do is, kailangan nating ma-recognize kung ano yung goal. Kailangan din nating maging practical at honest pagdating doon sa barrier. Because the only thing that we can solve something is kapag alam na alam natin. Problem solving is an effort from us to exert some control over the environment. To a certain extent, maayos natin, no? It is a process of knowing your boundaries, overcoming them, and achieving your goal. All right? Why is problem solving important in the workplace? It is important so that you could fix things that are broken. Whether it is a broken photocopying machine or a flawed attendance checking system, workplaces inevitably have things, activities, interactions, and processes that are broken and are not operating in the intended way. Kapag nagtrabaho ka, you will be working in an imperfect place. Okay? Ako na nagsasabi sa inyo, may mga imperfect na mga systems dyan. Alright? So, when you go there, alright, I want you to identify kung ano yung mga barriers dun sa goal mo, no? And find a way to fix it, no? And again, why do we solve problem? The other reason is to address risk. Anticipation is a gift humans have over problems. From past experiences and current events, we are able to constantly build on our awareness of what might be in the future. Risk is defined as something that will cause us, no, if we encounter a problem. So that's a risk, no? So we need to be able to identify problem para maunawaan natin kung ano yung pwedeng maging dahilan para mabankrupt yung company or matanggal ka sa trabaho or hindi ka matanggap bilang supervisor. So you anticipate, i-vision mo yung risk na pwede mong ma-encounter, no? And the ability to problem solve is also about not just fixing the present, but seizing the opportunity. It is about designing your future and innovating to achieve a better state. Through problem solving, we get to identify opportunities, test our ideas, and somehow shape the future. So, what are we saying here? What we're saying is that don't be afraid of problem solving. Don't be afraid of solving a problem. Don't be afraid of staring at a problem in the face and solving it. No? Hindi mo ipapabahala sa ibang tao ang pagsusolve ng problema para sa'yo. Again, hindi responsibilidad ng ibang tao na isolve ang problema para sa'yo. You solve it. You help in solving it. Okay? What is the typical problem-solving process like? Okay? We have two different types of problem solving. One is strategic problem solving. Strategic problem solving yung talagang sisipatin mo, uunawain mo yung problema. The other is yung the one na nagkukos ng problema is rushed problem solving. Gusto mo lang na mawala yung problema dahil nahihirapan ka. So kung ano-ano ang solusyon na lang ang nilagay mo. If that happens, it will lead to error. Speed leads to error. Rushing problem solving is no different from driving fast and recklessly on a highway. While a bias to action is good, we want our actions to be informed. Errors along the way contribute to stress and use up resources and time which would otherwise be spent on informed solutions or other company initiatives. This is the reason why kapag may problema, wag agad-agad mag-solve. Kalma ka muna, hinga ka muna, tignan mo muna kung ano yung problema. Alright? Minsan kasi, because we are rushing, mas nagsasayang yung effort kasi mali yung solusyon na nabigay natin. Okay? Pwede rin kasi, nagkakamali tayo, no? Or nagiging wrong yung problem solving natin. Hindi siya strategic if we are looking too close. When the goals you want to achieve are close to your heart, such emotional investment can be more harmful than helpful. If your team is emotionally charged, you would benefit from taking a step back and looking at the problem objectively. When you look too close and fail too deeply into the single solution you have in mind, it might be more difficult to assess whether the problem is really solved or our emotions are altering our perspectives. That's the thing, yung emotion kasi natin can change our perspective, no? So, ang payo ko lang talaga, pag may problema sa workplace, pag may problema, kalma. Kalma muna. Layo ka ng konti para mabistahan mo kung saan ang gagaling yung problema. Alright? Huwag munang may stress, umiyak, magwala, wag muna. Okay? Kalma, layo ka muna. Kasi mas makikita mo yung detalye saan nagka-problema. Okay? Another thing is, minsan, hindi natin alam na may problema pala kasi hindi naman natin sinasabi. Talking about it can also help. It is no different from when you are telling a friend about the problem you have with your spouse or partner. As you talk about your problem and your friend as your friend asks you further questions, you gain a wider understanding of the problem. You realize that maybe you were looking at the problem from a restricted point of view. Okay? A typical problem solving process is that there's a problem, you find a solution. But in a strategic problem solving process, there's a 5 steps that you can follow. Ito, ano to? There's a better chance na mas tama yung magiging solution. So you identify the problem, define the context of the problem, you explore possible strategies, act on the best solution, you look back, and you learn. Okay, the ideal problem-solving process gives emphasis on using observational skills for identifying the problem and defining the context of the problem. Okay, tignan natin, no? So, sa opisina, one of the problems na pwede ninyong ma-encounter is that meron kayong katrabaho na hindi nagtatrabaho, okay? Parang ipinapasa yung trabaho sa'yo. Okay? For example, collaborative work to, no? Tapos, pare, ikaw na bahala dyan, ha? Alis na ako. No? Pero it's supposed to be a group project or kailangan dalawa kayo dun sa project. So, that's a problem. Kasi una, dumodoble yung trabaho mo. No? Stressful yun. Mentally, nakakapagod yun. Physically, nakakapagod yun. That's also a problem kapag napagod ka na kasi, hindi ka na magiging productive. Hindi ka na magiging magaling, no? Competent. Kasi pagod ka, no? Again, ang goal mo is maging supervisor, for example. Pero meron kang katrabaho na sa sobrang pasaway, laging pinapasa sa iyo yung trabaho. Kaya ikaw, si martyr, dala-dalawa yung trabaho na ginagawa mo, pagod-pagod ka na. Nagkakamali ka na dahil pagod ka. So what's the problem? You identify your problem. My coworker is dependent on me. My coworker is not working as efficiently as he or she should. Define the context of the problem, no? Ano yung konteksto ng problema, no? Paliwanag konteksto. So, dahil hindi nagtatrabaho ng maayos yung katrabaho mo, dumodoble ang trabaho mo. Explore possible strategies. Ano yung mga possible na strategies mo? Una, kausapin mo si katrabaho. Pare, napapansin ko yata, nakailang beses ka nang iniiwan ako. Nasa shift mo. Please don't do that again. Otherwise, susumbong kita kay bossing. Alright? So, you explore possible strategy to deal with the situation. And then you act on the best solution, no? Kapag hindi pa rin siya nakinig, kahit pinagsabihan mo na siya na isusumbong mo siya kay boss, you do it, no? Sumbong mo kay boss. But make sure that when you do it, you have particular evidence, no? Meron kang logbook. Ito yung logbook mo, ito yung time in niya, ito yung time out mo. Tapos ito yung time out. Ito yung time in mo, time out mo. Time in niya, time out mo o niya. And then kung may picture ka na kunwari hindi siya nagtatrabaho, get another person, no? Another unbiased person. So para ma-confirm naman ng boss mo na hindi ka nagsisinungaling, no? And then let your supervisor think of the solution, no? Yun din yung gusto kong maging aware kayo, no? Na I want you to be empowered Pero gusto ko rin na kilalanin ninyo yung power ng supervisor at ng HR, no? It is not your responsibility to fix everything. The reason why they're there is because they're paid to deal with those kind of things. So, escalate, no? Maganda rin yun kasi hindi mo, kumbaga, yung pressure ng pag-solve ay hindi sa'yo, no? So, get their help. And then the fifth one is, look back and learn. Tama ba yung ginawa ko? Tama ba na kinausap ko siya ng 3 beses at hindi siya nakinig? No? And then learn from the situation. So that's one example of a strategic problem-solving process. So what is the role of problem finding in the problem-solving process? Okay. May mga examples tayo ng ano dito, no? Isang example ng problema rin. Apart from dun sa sinabi ko, isang coworker na laging pinapasa sa'yo, isa rin sa nagiging problema is laging overtime. For example, kulang tayo sa tao kaya overtime tayo ng overtime. What might you do to help you identify the problem? Hindi muna bida-bida, ganito dapat. No. The first thing that you have to do is, you might quietly observe your coworkers in your day-to-day and look out for tasks they seem to do at lightning speed versus tasks that take them longer to accomplish. Mag-observe ka muna. Second, you might listen to what your coworkers say when there are conversations about working overtime. Ano ba yung sinasabi nila tungkol sa overtime, no? Pakinggan mo kung anong sinasabi nila. May mga tao bang hindi nagtatrabaho? May mga trabaho bang redundant o duplicity? Pwede mo ring obserbahan yung paligid. You might look around and see if every single one of your coworkers is fully engaged at work at any given time. No? You might speak with a coworker you find frequently working overtime. No? Bakit ka ba laging nag-overtime? Kawawa ka naman. No? Or, kausapin mo siya. Or you might also look into data such as how many people in your team work overtime, on what days, and doing what tasks. Why are we saying this? What we're saying is that bago ka mag-jump into solution, kumuha ka muna ng data. Mag-observe ka muna. Because the only way for you to find the best solution is when it is based on data, on something you have observed. Okay? Now, let's talk about gravity problems. May mga pagkakataon na may mga problema talaga na hindi natin masusolusyonan. Okay? Gravity problems, gravity problems are those that are not considered real problems in a sense, because in life design, it's not actionable. If it's not actionable, it's not a problem. Let's repeat that. If it's not actionable, it's not a problem. It's a situation, a circumstance, a fact of life. It's something that we have to accept. No? Tayo kasi akala natin, no, lahat ng problema. Pero actually, sa management speak, no, sa jargon ng management, it's only a problem if it's something na pwede nating isolve. May mga bagay na hindi natin pwedeng isolve. Like, for example, traffic. No? What can we do with it? No? Wala tayong magagawa dyan. Unless magbago tremendously yung policy ng gobyerno. No? So it's a situation, it's a circumstance, a fact of life that we have to deal with. It's not exactly a problem. Hindi natin kasi masusolusyonan on our own. But it's a circumstance na isa-circumnavigate natin, gagawa natin ng paraan para hindi maging barrier doon sa balak natin, doon sa goal natin. No? These are problems that cannot be solved. So, meron din tayong mga tinatawag na gravity problems. Okay? So, the first thing, no, actually, that we want you to be aware of is not to jump agad-agad sa solusyon. Kalma muna and use your observational skills. Observation skills are very useful in identifying the problem and in spotting gravity problems. This is why problem finding is just as important as problem solving. No? You're not solving it yet, you find the problem first. When we take time to observe and to identify the problem, we are better assured that we are putting our efforts into solving the right problem. Okay? So, ito yung mga examples natin. Application natin, no? Inaagawan tayo ng customer ng kabilang restaurant. Using the earlier example of how you might use observation skills, what might you do to help you identify the problem? What might you ask to help you identify the problem? Kung inaagawan kayo ng customer ng kabilang restaurant, tanungin mo yung mga tao, punta ka doon, mag-spy ka, bakit po mas gusto ninyo dito sa restaurant na to? Kausapin nyo sila, no? Tignan nyo muna, gather muna kayo ng dahilan, no? So, punta kayo doon, kain kayo doon sa kabilang restaurant. Di ba ganun yung mga industrial spy? So, kain kayo sa kabilang restaurant, tikman ninyo yung niluto nila, tsikahin ninyo yung mga waitress, tsikahin ninyo yung mga chef. So, alamin nyo kung bakit inaagawan, naaagaw yung mga customer nyo. Second, kailangan nating turuang pumasok ng maaga yung mga empleyado natin. Suppose your infuriated boss tells you this. What might you do to help you identify the problem? What might you ask to help you identify the problem? Solution ba agad? Not yet. Tanungin muna natin, boss, bakit po kaya late pumapasok yung mga empleyado natin? Sabi nyo nga, there might be a reason. Laging may reason kung bakit nalilate ang mga tao. No? Sabi nyo yan, and I understand and I agree with you. So, tanungin muna natin, identify natin kung sino-sino yung mga na-late, tapos tanungin natin sila kung anong reason nila. Okay? Pwede kayong gumamit ng innovative na solution like Google Survey. No? Pa-survey kayo kung ano yung mga reason kung bakit nalilate. No? Para kung may data na kayo, mas madaling mabigay ng solusyon. Kung kaya ninyong solusyonan yung problema. Third, laging sira yung elevator sa office namin. Pawis na ako pagdating ng office sa pag-akyat ko ng 6 floors. Looking at this as a gravity problem, what other ways might you reframe the problem? Elevator. Ano magagawa natin dyan? Hindi naman tayo may-ari ng building. So, gravity problem siya. So, anong solusyon natin? Paayos ang elevator? No. Gamitin ng paa. Sorry. Gamitin ng paa at umakyat. Sabi ng dati kong trainee, agahan ng konti para may time na umakyat sa mataas na hagdan. So, find another way para makaakyat ka. Alright? So, final thoughts, problems are part of every person's daily life, whether at home or at the workplace. Problem solving is a process that every person and team goes through to exert some control over the environment. Problem solving helps to address the past, respond to the present, or prepare for the future. But the most important thing before you solve something is you find muna what the problem is. Problem finding is just as important as problem solving. Okay? So, para sa module na to, ang home task ninyo ay dalawa. Home task number 1 is what you called a practice on the self. Use the ideal workplace sketch you made in the session for this exercise. Use your sketch to help you determine narrative responses below. Your sketch will be your goals. But anyway, hindi mo na kailangan mag-sketch. Pwedeng diretso ka na lang. Nasagutin yung mga tanong na to. So, the barriers will be your reflections on possible obstacles you might hurdle to get to the goal. Okay? So, ignore the sketch. Huwag niyo napansinin yun. I want you to just answer the table. If everything went well for you at the workplace, okay, what would your ideal workplace look like? Ano yung goals? Ano yung barriers? What would your role be? Who would you be working with or for? What would your work hours be like? What would you wear to work? How much would you be earning? And how would you spend most of your work days? After filling out the table, add a reflection on the following. Of your perceived problems, which one do you think is a gravity problem? Which one do you want to further define the context of? Ano yung gusto niya pang ipaliwanag? That's just what it means. Write his name. Okay? Write this down. Okay, ignore that. Ignore the sketch. No need na for that. Write this down and save as a Word document using the file name, your first name and last name, practice on the self-home task, Module 3.1. So again, ulitin ko, para sa home task number 1, hindi na kailangan yung sketch. No need na for the sketch. I just want you to answer the table and the reflection. Okay ba yun? Alright. Home task number 2 is what you call process mapping. Think about the last time you felt pride in solving a problem at home or at work. Choose an example that you're comfortable sharing. Write about the problem and your problem solving process in a short narrative. So you might be guided by the following questions. How was the problem? What was your first reaction when you found this problem? What was your problem solving process like? How much of the problem solving process was spent understanding the problem and how much of it was spent trying out solutions? Looking back, would you have approached the problem differently? Why or why not? And how would you approach it? No? So write this down and save as a Word document using the file name, that one. So dalawa ulit, no? Sa process map, home task natin, the first one is a practice on the self. The second is process mapping. Okay. So yun yung inyong home task, okay? Remember that problems are part of our everyday lives, but just because it is part of our everyday lives doesn't mean that we cannot overcome it or we cannot live a comfortable and calm life kahit na may problema. Okay? The first thing that I really want you to learn is to be calmado in front of the problem because that's the only way you can solve it. And the first thing that you have to learn is to find the problem. Problem finding. Okay? So that is the focus of Module 3.1. So magpapatuloy tayo sa critical thinking skills at sa kung paano ba natin i-frame yung ating mga problems, how do we identify problems, how do we frame solutions sa mga susunod na mga modules. For this module, we focused on understanding what problems are and how to find a problem. Okay? So, yun yung focus natin sa 3.1. Alright. So, that's it for today. Sana may natutunan kayo. Alright? Have a good day ahead of you. Bye!